Alright guys, let me show you guys how to do a transmission fluid flush on your Mercedes equipped with a 722.9 transmission. This applies to most Mercedes from the, about, say, 2006 to about 2011, 2012 era, and of course some that go before and some that go after. So for example, pretty much every 63 with the 156 motor, actually I think all of them actually, have this 722.9 transmission. It's a pretty good transmission, the 7-speed. Some in the AMGs have a torque converter, like this one has a torque converter. Some have a wet clutch setup, like the C63. But overall, the drain process and transmission fluid flush is a very similar process, and not difficult, but there are some caveats and some things you want to keep in mind. One of the strange things about the 722.9 is that there are a few different pan iterations, and actually there's one version that's considered the upgraded pan, which I have right there. So I'll be upgrading the pan from this car, which is 2009, to the later pan model. So for example, my C63 already has the upgraded pan. I believe you can hold a little bit more fluid in it, keep the transmission cooler, has a little more volume, and overall just a better design. And it's especially important for the cars with the transfer case 4-wheel drive, such as this one, pretty much any ML I think all of them have 4-wheel drive regardless. It's very important that you do have the upgraded pan now for these, so they do have a little more fluid, better cooling, and all that. So the recommended service interval for this transmission is 40,000 miles. So usually all you would need is just your fluid and a new gasket, new filter, which for the filter, you definitely got to get it from Mercedes themselves, meaning the original Mercedes part. It doesn't need from a dealership or anything, but you want the genuine part. So every 40,000 miles, I basically do an entire flush. I don't just do a change. As remember, especially with the AMG models, some have extra transmission coolers. So for example, in this case, for the ML, some fluid goes to some rows of the radiator itself, and it also goes to this separate transmission cooler. So there are actually two places where the transmission fluid is cooled. Not to mention all the lines carry, old fluid and stuff. I actually just changed the radiator out in this car because it was cracked. I just finished installing this new one today, and by doing that, I actually kind of drained out some stuff from the lines. So I should already have quite a lot less fluid in the transmission, or at least when I circulate it, there won't be very much that is going to come out. So it'll kind of line up perfectly in terms of timing and what had to be done. So I'll be showing you guys how to install this new pan. Of course, you're going to need new bolts. You can kind of get it with using old bolts, but I highly recommend using new ones, especially if you just buy from FCP Euro. You get new ones whenever you return the old ones. So you get that unlimited lifetime warranty, which is certainly a benefit. So first of all, you want to jack your car up. Whichever sort of under panel covers you may have, you want to take those off. Mine are already all off. And now we're going to remove the kind of brackets kind of holding in some wiring along the side of the transmission pan. Just want to quickly mention that the earlier 722.9s use ATF 134. So for example, this car does use ATF 134, but the newer cars use ATF 134 FE. So this is my C63. I'll be doing a video on this car soon as well. Alright, so on the 164 chassis, GL or ML, here is the transmission pan. Again, mine is the older version of the transmission pan, so it's got the circular divots, a little bit shallower. The drain plug is right here. It's a 6mm hex screw, which you can remove later. But first you have to remove kind of whatever bracketing is kind of around it in the way. Unfortunately, there's one little screw. I'm not sure if you guys can see it. Maybe I can show you guys better. You can kind of see in the middle of the screen there. That is the top bolt. It's an eTorx 11 holding up the entire sort of bracket for all the sort of wires over here. But I do not have an eTorx 11. I have an eTorx 10. I have a 10 whatever. I tried sticking up a 10mm socket there to try and remove it, and it fit over it, but there was just too much torque required to remove it, and I was worried I was going to strip it. So instead of doing that, of course the one I'm missing is E11 because it's probably lost somewhere in my BMW, but aside from that, we can just kind of bend it out of the way. So that little tab right there, this guy, we can probably bend this with some pliers just out of the way to get access to the E10 or eTorx 10 bolt, which there are quite a few eTorx 10s all the way around here, which we will not be reusing. I have a new set. Highly recommend you buy a new set as well. But before we remove the pan, let's get this out of the way, and then we can drain with the 6mm hex over here. Now there is kind of an overflow plug inside of there, which is used to fill the pan. So not much fluid's going to come out. We have to knock it over with either a screwdriver or some sort of long extension. So I'll probably use something like this at the end of my and in my socket, or in my ratchet over here, I'll use this kind of extension to knock over that piece so we can drain all the fluid out. But don't worry about that, I'll show you guys that in a moment. But for now, I'm going to take off kind of all the electronic stuff and move that out of the way. Alright, all that fluid you see there is just some PV Blaster, don't worry about that. I put that there because the torque on the drain plug was super tight. I could barely get it off. I'd use two hands and I kind of slammed my hand into part of the car. So do keep that in mind. You might need extension for the extra leverage. However, I do have mine loosened up now. So now I can go ahead and actually take it off as you would. I have a pan below. And there we go. As you can see, not a ton of fluid coming out, really. Alright, now we can attempt to get that green spout kind of removed so all the fluid can drain out. So essentially, you just got to kind of stick up a screwdriver of some sort that's small enough, or an extension, and it should be able to drain all the fluid out, or at least most of it. Here we get all the fluid finally coming out. So what I used to knock over that little spout was this little pick tool right here. Don't mind my neighbors crying baby, there's always a noise going on, it's just fantastic. Anyways, back to the point. I did, of course, miss the pan a little bit, and it's currently spinning, which, fantastic, but yeah, it's pretty much all coming out of that hole. So once that's done, making a mess, we can take the entire pan off. Alrighty, so I've taken all of the they're actually E11s, I was incorrect, so I actually had the E11 but now I need 10. So scratch that out if you kind of got a E10 out, my bad. It is an E11 for all these guys, which means that it's probably E12, which means I probably do have that exact one. So no worries on that, we can probably take it out if we want to, but in my case, I'm just going to kind of take it off. So I only have 2 bolts holding in right now, one on each side, they're pretty loosened up. So what I'm going to do now is take those out and kind of drop the pan, but push it kind of backwards so the fluid will spill out toward the rear. My car must be at an incline of some sort. I have both sides jacked up to what I thought was pretty level, but it could be my entire garage is not quite level because I noticed there was some fluid already trying to leak out the back of the pan. So do keep that in mind. This is a pretty messy job, at least for someone like me who's in their garage just on some jack stands. So have a lot of towels ready to go. I got these kind of shop towels all good to go. That guy's soaking up whatever fluid's coming out back there. So yeah, at that point I'm just going to drop the entire pan. Alright, so once I got that pan off, there's actually quite a lot of fluid left in it, so I don't think I properly disconnected that little hose. I can show you guys that in a moment. But here's the filter right there, which we can remove just kind of by pulling down it gently and twisting this little O-ring on it, so keep that in mind. But there should be a little bit more fluid in that filter that is going to plummet out into the pan. As you can see, I've done a terrible job of keeping things clean, which kind of to be expected, but I'll be thankful that most of the fluid is in the pan. So here we've got my old pan and filter. That's that kind of spout I was talking about. So I kind of forgot the older transmissions either have a white or a black funnel. I do have a new one, so I'm back. I'll grab it in a second, but it should be green. Here's the upgraded pan right here. So like I mentioned earlier, the newer cars have this upgraded pan to begin with. We got to clean off these magnets before we put them back in the new pan. Alright, I've got the new magnets in place, as you can see, all cleaned up. And then I've got my new spout kind of just snapped over here. Perfectly on there, pretty firm, doesn't move around. This also is very useful. It's actually necessary to get the proper level of fluid in the pan. So keep that in mind as well. And I put the new gasket on, which actually has a few tabs that kind of clicks into, not clicks into, but kind of presses into. As you can see, here's one right here. There's one over there, and then one on that side, so don't forget to put those down. Now we can go back to the transmission itself and clean off the mating area between the pan and the transmission. And also, we can put the new filter in, which we will do by kind of using some old oil, putting it on this, just like you do with the new oil change and doing it with your oil filter cap O-ring. Put some old oil on this portion of the O-ring, then kind of press it back into place. Alrighty guys, so as you can see, I've got the new pan on with the filter on beneath it. Filter is pretty simple, as I said earlier. Got to put some oil on the O-ring and just kind of pop it in there, and then I've kind of only hand tightened all of the new bolts in place. Now I'm going to torque them down. I'll get the torque specs in a moment. Now we're going to need to torque down all the bolts to about 4 Newton meters, which kind of estimates about 2.5 foot-pounds. And then after we do that 2.5 foot-pounds to all the bolts, kind of in a crisscross pattern, we will go 180 degrees on all of those. I'm going to do that right now. If you are for some reason reusing them, be very, very careful. They're prone to snapping. They're aluminum. They should be one-time use. So these are all new, obviously. So preferably get some new ones. Alrighty, so all the pan bolts are tightened up, and we got the brackets back in place. Now it's time to refill this transmission pan. Now, one thing you have to make sure is you have some way to read the temperature of the transmission. You'll also need some adapter. I just bought one off Amazon. It was pretty cheap. That'll fill through the drain plug over here. So we gotta take this drain plug out, and you also need some motive power bleeder of some sort of filler, actually, a motive power filler of some sort. I'll give you guys a look at that in a second. So here's that piece I was talking about. Essentially, this will screw into the drain plug hole of the transmission, a little O-ring there, and then this we'll put some tubing over it that'll connect this to the end of this guy over here, which is our power bleeder. So essentially, it uses pressure that you can build up by pumping this guy right here, and when you open that valve, it'll allow fluid, it'll force fluid into the transmission pan. Also want to bring up at this point, if you may have not, if you've picked up on this or not, I'm not draining the torque converter because the way we're flushing it out, I kind of watched a few videos on this instead, is you essentially use the return lines that go to the transmission. Use the return lines to bring all the fluid out from any of the lines, any of the transmission coolers. All the dirty fluid, even from the torque converter, will eventually get brought out regardless. So we'll have clean fluid throughout the entire system, not just the torque converter and transmission pan. This is actually a better way, I think, of doing it. I'll link the video I watched in the description. They used to use a GL550, I believe, and it was a very similar process of this. I just believe I have a little bit more transmission cooling as an AMG. So yeah, let's go from there. Alright, is it the next day? I'm going to add 5 liters of fluid to the transmission. I've got the car's levels, I can get it. I'm not quite sure why the pan is still a little bit off, but I've done the best I can to get it level. So I'm going to put 5 liters in no matter what before we start the car. And then I got to run to Home Depot and get an IR temperature scanner. Unfortunately, my Bluetooth OBD reader does not actually get to transmission temperature, so I'm going to have to buy a Mercedes-specific one on Amazon. It's probably something I'm going to need at some point anyways, so I'll grab one of those. But for now, I'll be getting an IR temperature scanner just to scan the bottom of the pan to get a kind of rough estimate of what temperature we're at. So yeah, I'm going to go grab that real quick, but first, let's add 5 liters of fluid. Alright guys, so what I've done so far is just turn the car on, and surprisingly, I thought this car had an initial transmission cooler, which I believe it does, but the thermostat was open for whatever reason, and the fluid instantly started draining into this little waste container I had. This used to have new fluid in it. So that's one over there. That's 1 quart that's full of dirty fluid. You can kind of see, or 1 liter rather, sorry. And then this one is just full as well. I want to show you guys the difference in coloration. That's the dirty fluid right there. That is the clean red fluid. So we're gonna now, so now I've taken 2 liters out. I'm gonna put 2 liters in, which should be about half of this, approximately, not exact. So I'm gonna go ahead and put 2 more liters of fresh fluid in here, and then we're gonna drain 2 more out using the same kind of method, and then we're gonna put in 2 more liters again, and at that point we'll see if the pan is full by checking the temperature and then letting it drain out and all that good stuff. I have new fluid flowing into the pan. Just gonna wait on that now. Okay, so set up my next container, the 3rd liter right there. I'm gonna go ahead and start the engine real quick so I can show you guys what that looks like. Let me get the camera kind of set up here so you can see the hose. And there it goes. Alrighty, perfect. So keep in mind that it is pretty difficult to do this, 2 things at once. Basically, you kind of have monitoring the level of this fluid as well as turn the car on and off. So if you have someone that can help you, that'd be great, but I don't in this case. But I have noticed the fluid's starting to get a little bit clearer and less brown as it comes through. In fact, if you look underneath the car, they are very similar in color at this point. Probably looks a little bit more different on camera, but take my word for it, they are a little bit more different than they used to be. Time to drain the 4th liter, or the 2nd round of the 2nd liter, but this is the 4th liter fluid will be draining out. This should account for, like I said earlier, all the lines, the coolers, the torque converter. I really wanted to avoid draining the torque converter itself, as that is kind of a hassle to do in terms of just getting leverage and all that, so this should be a lot cleaner of a method to do so. Alright, so also something to remember is that our connections to the return line are not necessarily perfect. It's kind of at a weird angle, so I did notice there's a little bit of a leak at the return line right now, which I'm not too worried about. But that does mean a little bit more fluid has been lost, other than the 4 liters over here. At this point, I'm just going to refill the entire thing and reuse the remainder fluid I have, which is about 2 liters according to this, which sounds about right to me. But like I said, this is not completely accurate. So I'm just going to drain this entire thing into or fill the entire pan with whatever I got left over here. At this point, I've now replaced the return line. It's back and screwed into the transmission itself. I torqued down that one bolt to 106 inch-pounds of torque, which I think roughly converts to about 9 foot-pounds. So somewhere around that is good enough. Just make sure you don't over-tighten it. Again, it's aluminum. Probably should replace it, but I think it's okay in this case, as there are also 2 O-rings that I did replace. I'll put the part number for those in the description. They're pretty cheap, but I actually went and picked them up from the dealership themselves, and even that wasn't too bad in terms of pricing. I think it was like $4 total. I just still have this filler connected up, so I'm going to add a liter to make a total of 10 liters, adding to the transmission. This way we can let any overflow just kind of flow out into the pan without having to worry about it being underfilled. Now, neither overfilled or underfilled is good, but you know, I have a feeling that because of all the fluid I lost earlier on, between that stuff on the floor right now and also from all the coolers earlier, I think I was low to begin with. Alright, so I've added that last liter of fluid, and we should be all set to start the car. A little bit of air bubbles kind of popping out, but I'm going to take off the hosing from the end of that adapter, the fill adapter. I'm going to put the pan below it, and I guess we're going to start the car up and wait till about 45 degrees Celsius and see how much fluid drips out until it's a very slow dribble at 45 degrees Celsius still. And then once that happens, we can put the drain plug back in to 22 Newton meters, around 16 foot-pounds of torque. Alright, now my filler's completely disconnected. I just have that attachment with some hose into the pan. As you can see, it's already overflowing, so it means we have plenty of fluid in the pan. I'm going to start the car up now, and let's get that thing up to temperature so we can see it slowly drip and make sure all the excess is out of the pan. You can already see a little bit of dripping, but not too much. While the trans is warming up, I'm going to shift through PRNDR, or PRND, a few times, put the foot on the brake obviously so that nothing really happens. Alright guys, that is pretty much one of the messiest jobs you can do for a DIY, you know, 156, 722.9 owner. At least that's the messiest one I've come across so far. That's it for this video. Hope to help you guys out. Again, I'll link the video I used in the description. That was very helpful to me. I just figured maybe some 63 owners may be curious if it's a little bit different for their car, which I can confirm. The 63 is more or less the same as any other 164 GL or ML, so that's it. I will be doing the same thing soon on my C63, which may actually have the thermostat. So I think what's up with the 63s is that the 63s have the additional trans cooler for the MLs, but there's no thermostats. They still run through regardless. So that may be why it was still instantaneous and have to wait for a thermostat to open. But that's it. Again, hope this helped you out. If you have any questions specifically to this car, let me know. In terms of bracketing, they may be a little bit different for other cars, but if you are doing a C63 at some point, keep in mind I will be doing a video on that shortly. That car is about 2,000 miles away from needing to be serviced, so that'll be happening soon as well. And that's it. Peace out, guys.